Today we're diving deep into the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, and where, apparently, beavers once roamed free. Let's rewind the clock to 1624. Picture this. Instead of honking taxis and towering skyscrapers, you've got lush forests, pristine rivers, and more beavers than you can shake a stick at. This was Manahatta, as the Lenape people called it, meaning island of many hills. The Dutch arrived, exclaiming, "We just love those fluffy beaver pelts. Time to build a new Amsterdam." And just like that, New Amsterdam was born. But hold on to your stroopwafels, folks, because this Dutch dream was about to get a rude awakening. In 1664, the British rolled in with their ships and their fancy accents. And faster than you can say, cheerio, New Amsterdam became New York. Talk about an identity crisis. But this was just the beginning of New York's wild ride through history. Now let's talk about Wall Street. You might think it's named after some metaphorical wall of money. But nope, it's named after an actual wall. Back in the 1650s, the Dutch built a wall to keep out the British and some very angry cows. Spoiler alert, it didn't work out so well for the Dutch, but hey, at least we got a cool street name out of it. Fast forward to 1765, and New York is getting feisty. The British are imposing taxes, and the colonists are not having it. Enter the Sons of Liberty, a group of rabble-rousers who decided to throw their own tea party. No, not the fancy kind with scones and cucumber sandwiches. We're talking about dumping tea into the harbor and starting a revolution. Take that, Boston. New York was into tea parties before they were cool. As the 19th century rolled in, New York started to grow, and grow, and grow. The Erie Canal opened in 1825, turning the city into a major trade hub. Suddenly, everyone and their cousin wanted a piece of the Big Apple. Oh wait, we're not calling it that yet. Patience, folks. We'll get there. With all these people pouring in, things got a bit crowded. Enter the era of the tenement buildings. Imagine cramming your entire family into a space smaller than a modern bathroom. Cozy? Not so much. But hey, it gave us some great stories, and eventually, some much-needed housing reforms. Now let's talk about the rise of New York's first gangs. No, we're not talking about the Jets and the Sharks from West Side Story. These were real-deal street gangs, with names like the Bowery Boys, the Dead Rabbits, and the Plug Uglies. Their turf wars made the Five Points neighborhood so notorious that even Charles Dickens was shocked when he visited. And trust me, it takes a lot to shock a guy who wrote about workhouses and pickpockets for a living. As the 20th century dawned, New York was ready for its glow-up. Skyscrapers started popping up like mushrooms after rain. The Flatiron Building, the Woolworth Building, and eventually the Empire State Building reached for the stars. Fun fact, the Empire State Building was built in just 410 days. Talk about New York efficiency. But wait, you might be wondering, when does New York become the Big Apple? Well, hold on to your hats, because this is where things get juicy. In the 1920s, sports writer John Fitzgerald started using the term Big Apple in his columns. He'd heard jazz musicians saying that playing the big New York City clubs was playing the Big Apple. The nickname stuck, and by the 1970s, it was officially adopted in a tourism campaign. So there you have it. New York's famous nickname came from jazz cats, not actual apples. Sorry, farmers. Speaking of iconic New York symbols, let's chat about Lady Liberty. The Statue of Liberty, that green gal in the harbor, was a gift from France. But get this, she almost ended up in Philadelphia. Luckily for New York, Philly couldn't raise enough money for the pedestal. Their loss, New York's gain. As we zoom towards the present, New York has been through it all. The Roaring '20s, the Great Depression, World War II, the tumultuous '60s and '70s, the economic boom of the '80s and '90s, and the challenges of the 21st century. Through it all, the city has remained a beacon of hope, opportunity, and really expensive coffee. Today, New York is a melting pot of cultures, a hub of finance and fashion, and home to some of the world's best pizza. Sorry, Chicago. From the bright lights of Broadway to the street art of the Bronx, from the brownstones of Brooklyn to the beaches of Staten Island, New York is a city of endless stories. So there you have it, folks. The shocking, surprising, and downright bizarre history of New York City. From beaver pelts to big apples, from walls to Wall Street, this city has seen it all. Next time you're stuck in traffic on the FDR or squished in a subway car, remember, you're part of a long, wild history that's still being written every day. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to get a slice of pizza and maybe start a jazz-inspired nickname for my own city. The Big Pineapple? Anyone? No? Tough crowd. This is New York, after all. Everybody's a critic.